Okay, can you guys hear me? Maybe that's a better question right now. If you can hear me, so they can hear me, so it's obviously with the phone.
Okay, well, then
Let's
we
try it.
need to see. All right. So now, camera.
Okay.
Here you go. Here's the back camera. Right?
Yeah.
I'll just have to be ready because I always get that 9 o'clock telemarketing call, which is enough to make me bananas. Oh, sorry. Well, let's see what this is like, guys. Let's see what you can see. That's called On the Fly, babes. Let's see. You guys tell me if you can hear me.
All good now.
All right. Well, something's
Okay.
wonky.
That was...
You guys are going to get really up close and personal with me right now. Okay.
Now I have to figure out what's wrong with my phone.
Well, at least we got it figured out. That's good. I like it. Hi, guys. Thank you. Thanks for the heads up. This is why we love you. You're always so very helpful. That was kind of hairy.
Yeah, we got plenty of time. We had a minute.
We had a minute.
We had
A
a minute.
minute
All right,
in
here we
media
go.
time is a lifetime.
Here we go.
Using facts to take on the woke politicians, triggered leftists, and the corporate media.
You just got to try harder not to suck.
Live across the fruited plain and from sea to shining sea, you're listening to the Wendy Bell radio program.
Hello, America, and welcome to the program. You're tuned into the one and only Wendy Bell radio program. We are the home of common sense conservatism. Welcome home. You are in good company. Let's start the way we should. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. You know, if saying that doesn't make you smile, doesn't make you feel the way I do when I say it every day, you know, you've been listening to too much Democratic talking points, I'm afraid. You know, I've been tuning in. Obviously, today is a big day. in both New Jersey and in Virginia, choosing new governors. Virginia is a very interesting state where you can't you can't serve consecutive terms, which is why Terry McAuliffe is trying to get in again. But as I'm paying attention to the feeling, vibe, the emotion, and the energy of today, it's very interesting to get a tale of two different parties, right? And I think this is why the independents out there are such a unique crowd, because you get to sit there at the dinner table and sample both sides of the table, right? You get to pick and choose what you like, what you don't like. But by and large, I think, ladies and gentlemen, what we are saying is a growing crowd of people in the middle who are so tired of why. I'm telling you now why this election, particularly in Virginia, has come down to this. You've got a choice. You have a side that is all about racist messaging and imagery. It's about deceit. It's about lies. I honestly and fundamentally believe that. What Terry McAuliffe and the Democrats are trying to do is kowtow to the same people who long ago stopped paying attention, because all those promises manage to evaporate once the individual moves either into the White House or the mayor's office, or in this particular instance, the governor's mansion, if you will. And the words have fallen on not just deaf ears, but we're just now annoyed. We're annoyed. We're so tired of being called things that we're not, simply because the Democratic Party is going down a terrible rabbit hole. Your policies are not good for this country, period. Huge referendum on the president and his administration and all the lackeys, the JV team that he decided to put into place to represent the values, the mission of this failed administration. We're not even a year in. And look at the damage caused. Look at the divisiveness caused. And it's the same old song and dance. It's Donald Trump's fault. It's MAGA this. It's racist parents. White supremacy. Aren't you so tired of it? And I'm baffled by the left as they're kind of walking around in the dark right now. What happened to Terry McAuliffe? Oh my goodness, we rolled out the greatest hits. Literally, all of the main players. We had them all. If Hillary Clinton was worth a lick, she'd been out there too. Right? So you had former President Obama, you have Vice President Harris, Stacey Abrams, Joe Biden himself imploring the voters of Virginia to not be racist, white supremacist, insurrectionist voters. How's that going for you guys? Is that messaging working for you? Because it kind of looks like, as I'm paying attention to the national landscape, people are tired of it. We're tired of being told that we're something that we're not, simply so you can pass an agenda that's bad for everybody. You know, and what I don't hear in any of this rhetoric on the left, I don't hear love of country. I don't hear pride for America. I don't hear we're a melting pot, a bubbling cauldron of different people from different walks of life. We're a tapestry in the United States, woven with a singular thread, and it is a love of country. What we have instead is we have a government that wants to apologize for our extraordinary accomplishments in just a few hundred short years. What are we, just a little ways away from our 245th, 250th anniversary? Really? And they want to sell that America is hateful and exclusive and bigoted, and it's fueled by people who want to overtake the government in this great insurrection. They've got a very limited playbook. And unfortunately, the album spinning on the turntable has way too many scratches. So it's just skipping back to the same old crap. We're tired of the tune. We want a song that invigorates us. We want an anthem that we can celebrate. We want to join together and make great progress together. I want to play for you. It's unusual to play sound in the monologue. And I will say that I have not heard a lot of very moving political commentary lately. Certainly not from somebody who decides to run for elected office. I heard it this morning, and it happened last night in Virginia, as Terry McAuliffe decided to cancel his final campaign event a mere few hours before the polls opened in the Commonwealth of Virginia, where the voters there will select whether they will continue with the same old, tired Democratic policies that have done them very little good over the last several years, or if they want to get behind a voice of reason and common sense. And this is the voice of Glenn Youngkin last night in what looked like a Trump rally. And if you've ever been to a Trump rally, it is one of the most inspiring things I've ever been a part of. Certainly because of the president, yes, but well beyond that. Standing kneecap to kneecap with other people, shoulder to shoulder, draped in American flag colors, loving America, believing in everything that you believe in. This is what I heard in the voice of reason and love of country in Republican Glenn Youngkin last night. Go.
We will teach all history, the good and the bad. America is the...
Hold on. We're working on it. Technical difficulties, nothing to see here. You know what happens. It was interesting to see the video, though, because everybody is, it's just the way I described, so excited to hear him speak.
We will teach all history, the good and the bad. America is the greatest country on the planet, and we know it. We have an amazing history, but we also have some dark and abhorrent chapters. We must teach them all. We can't know where we're going unless we know where we have come from. But let me be clear, what we won't do is teach our children to view everything through a lens of race, where we divide them into buckets, and one group's an oppressor and one other group's a victim, and we pit them against each other and we steal their dreams. We will not be a commonwealth of dream stealers. We will be a commonwealth of dream enablers and builders. And we know it's not right. We're all created equal. And we're trying so hard to live up to those immortal words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who implored us to be better than we are, to judge one another based on the content of our character and not the color of our skin. And so let me be clear. Let me be clear, on day one, we will not have political agendas in the classroom, and I will ban critical race theory.
Demolishing rebuke of what the dangerous left is trying to push not only on us, but on our children. And as I said, you can do a lot to a grown-up, but if you start messing with their kids, you better look out. Wrong people, wrong fight, wrong time. And I dare say, that rally, that conversation, that man, Glenn Youngkin, I really hope that he pulls out the win in Virginia. You and your children deserve it. We all do. And I will say this, make no mistake, there is a great awakening, not the great awokening of the left, where everything is triggered and outrage making, but a great awakening of the path that this country is on presently, and the path the vast majority of us want to return to. It's hopeful. Feel it. Don't despair. There are people all around us, all across America who are working furiously, maybe even you, to get us back on track. And it's a shame that it takes this much, it gets this nasty to demonize this many Americans who just want what's best for their families, for the Democratic Party to realize they put their eggs in the wrong basket, because in America, hate doesn't ever win. I love Dr. Darren Dubiak and what he does at Advanced Integrative Medical 360. I was at his office yesterday, shot a video with 3 of the lifers. So the program at AIM 360 is a 60-day intensive one-on-one with you. And it hinges on blood work, see what's going on inside your body. And then they sit down with you, and you've got a team of people who help you lose weight or get your hormones in balance or make the appropriate lifestyle changes to slim down and get feeling the way you want. After that, it's maintenance. So I wanted to see, how long does this program last? Like, what's involved? The women I sat with literally were crying because they'd been 6 months, 10 months, a year out of their treatment. And not only had they kept the weight off, they've gotten back to that joy that they had lost many, many years ago. And when you talk about that openly and honestly, it makes you cry. Advanced Integrative Medical 360. No matter where you live, they can help you. 412-227-9255. IntegrativeMedical360.com. Give them a call. You need to hear this. You know, I also have interesting sound from Terry McAuliffe on the flip side. And I want to play that for you out of here, because it is a tale of 2 options as we fight to save this great constitutional republic. Stick with me. You're listening to the Wendy Bell Radio program. Man, I got some shiny spots going on here. Why didn't you guys ever tell me this?
All
This
I
is
have to say
important.
is, when you plug something in, make sure it goes all the way in.
Ah, well, okay. So we had some technical difficulties, but that's behind
I
us.
can't figure out what happened to my phone.
Did you shut it all down and start it back up?
No. You thinking I have to?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You guys, I got the coolest thing and I want to share it with you. I want to thank Benjamin from Lawrence, Kansas, who with no note, no nothing, sends this in the mail to me. It is a United States Space Command Challenge coin. Look how cool this thing is. I remember how I felt when Donald Trump announced the formation of this branch of our military,
You
the
remember
Space
we had the guy
Command.
on?
We had the astronaut
Yeah.
from Pennsylvania who was he was traveling. I don't know if he was going to the International Space Station, but he was doing something.
Right.
And you know,
that day of graduation.
yeah, that was what it was. Yes, he was one of the select few who had graduated through this NASA program, which is hardcore. Like the math, I'd be toast. I'd be like,
MIT.
oh, for heaven's sakes. Like, these are super duper smart people. And that was so cool when you feel like the last frontier. You're like, oh, I love that. So Benjamin, if you're paying attention, from Lawrence, Kansas, thank you very, very, very much. This means so much to me. I think this is like my 75th challenge coin. I'm collecting them. My goal is to have a gazillion. See, you can never attain the goal. So that means each time I get one, it's special. Thank you very much, Benjamin. I appreciate it more than you know. I'd love to know his story, how he got it.
If my sound sounds bad, don't worry about it. It's not about.
Yeah, what's going on? Gremlins. That's the thing with technology. It's great when it works, but when it bones you, it's not good.
No one needs to worry about hearing me. Wow.
What? I'm excited about today. I'm cautiously optimistic. I do have some eggs in that basket, so I don't want them to get squished.
What
But
eggs?
I really want Glenn Youngkin to win. I think that Virginia deserves someone who doesn't suck. You know, And I think that what Terry McAuliffe and the BS that he's been running on is far too dangerous and it's too transparent.
Agreed.
Enough with us being called racist, insurrectionists. I'm over it.
All right, B, here we go.
All right, my dear. All right. All right. So moments ago, we played a little bit of sound from the Glenn Youngkin rally last night, talking about, you know what? Yeah, we've got some chapters in our history. We've got some chapters, as does every culture, as does every country. Things that you've learned from, mistakes you will not repeat. And yet, look at what we're doing now, repeating the same mistakes of segregation, of hatred, of vilification, of labeling, of putting people in buckets, of falsely accusing them because of our own individual weaknesses or insecurities, or our own lack of policy movement because the policy sucks. That's your Democratic Party. I want you to hear the flip side. Here's Glenn Youngkin yesterday. Here's Terry McAuliffe yesterday. This is his last ditch effort. This is how he's going to triple, quadruple, quintuple down on the idea of race, that everything's about racism. Listen to him talking about the classroom.
And we got to work hard to diversify our teacher base. 50% of our students are students of color. 80% of the teachers are white. So what I'm going to do for you will be the first state in America. If you'll go teach in Virginia for 5 years in a high demand area, that could be geographic, it could be coursework, we will pay room, board, and tuition at any college, any university, or any HBCU here in Virginia. Be the first state in America to do that.
Really? So there's 7 people there. There's no enthusiasm. You can tell that he's just grasping at straws. And he says he's got too many white teachers. Again, back to the whole race thing. Do you give a flying rip what your child's teacher looks like so long as they're an excellent educator? Do you care what color your pilot is as long as he or she can fly the plane and, alas, land it safely? Do you care to what God your surgeon prays so long as they cut off the right whatever, or solve your heart problem, or save your life? Enough. Long ago, I believe Americans stopped paying attention to these things that are physically distinct about one another. There has never been a better time to not be what everybody else is in America. The sky is the limit. But what the Democrats want to legislate is equality of outcome, which you cannot do. We can offer equality of opportunity. And what does that mean? It means giving our children an excellent education that competes with the like of Asia, that kicks our butt, with India, that destroys us when it comes to education. This is the United States of America. And while other countries are making substantial changes that actually benefit the next generation, what are we doing? We're bickering about nuance that doesn't really matter. We're trying to fundamentally rewrite the history of the United States. We want to make things unsafe. We want to pass laws that don't do anything except bankrupt the next generation and beyond. So I ask you this question, and I want to hear from you all across America. Is this a referendum in Virginia, this governor's race, against Democrat Terry McAuliffe and Republican Glenn Youngkin? It is more than the Virginia governorship. It is the beginning of a new path forward. It is the turning of the page of a chapter that we need to put to bed because it doesn't work. It's not supposed to work. It's supposed to cause chaos and divide and bitterness and distrust and fear. And I don't know about you, but that's not the America I love. Is this the beginning of a quiet, sleeping Republican Party and moderates who've been tired of being dragged down the path of empty promises? waking up. I want to know. And beyond that, well, I might ask the second question later. If Terry McAuliffe loses and Glenn Youngkin becomes the governor of Virginia, do you believe that this is the light that so many of us have been waiting for? The grassroots movement of people getting out, getting active, speaking up, fighting for their children, saying, don't demonize me and you better stay the heck away from my kids. Was that the tipping point? The number, 833-WBR show. 833-WBR show. Please phone in. Tell me what you think. And then even further, and it makes me sick to even suggest this, if those ballots aren't all counted today, can you believe the results? They better get this right or there's going to be outrage. Call me. I want to hear from you. 833-WBR show. We'll take your calls next on the Wendy Bell Radio program. I love seeing you guys call in. It makes me so happy. It's just a total joy. So much fun. So I wonder what is going on with your audio and such. Hard to know.
I mean, I'll have to reboot my phone. I haven't done it in a long time, so I don't know if that's it or not. But
you mean just turning it off and all that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I love your calls, you guys. We had, before I even put up the number, I had Tom from Baltimore on the line. I love that. So great. Rhonda, Denise, and Tom. You know, I hope you guys realize how important you are to us and how much it means to us that you're here every day. Thank you so much. It's such a blast. So Jason's not in studio with us today because he is out. Some of the merchandise is in, a lot of it. So he's working his ears off trying to get it out to you guys.
He's actually helping.
Yeah, he's actually packaging it and getting it out. You know,
a lot of you guys have emailed.
The supply chain stuff is for real. And so I know you are excited and eager to get the merchandise. And for that, we're so grateful. Thank you. Thank you. And I know you want it now and we want to get it to you now. But we are at the mercy of how fast things are made and how quickly they can be delivered to us before we can then sort through them and go through the orders. And we've had something to the effect of 1,500 individual orders, if I'm not mistaken. 1,100 orders.
But that's just orders. That doesn't include the people who bought multiple things. And you have to understand, someone emailed me yesterday. It's hard for me to get back to everyone's email.
Yeah.
No one is being ignored. I just want to say that up front.
Yep. We know that you guys are anxious and we're so happy for that. But no, it's not because we're just dragging our feet.
There's literally, when it comes to merch, there's literally two of us doing it. You know,
and I'm not one of them.
She's not one of them. And that's for a reason, you know.
I love them for that.
Too many Indians,
not enough
Chiefs. More Chiefs. We just need Indians.
Yeah.
But like someone emailed about getting their T-shirts, but not their stickers.
Yeah, it'll come.
Well, here's the thing: we're dealing with we're not dealing with a conglomerate, so they're not all going to come from the same place.
Yeah, this is a good point. This is a good point to make.
Independence.
So again, this is all made in America. So we're also eating the cost of the shipping for now. I think that's going to have to change because the shipping
They
costs
doubled it.
are now twice what they were. So for us to send even a mug out, it's like $8. So it's really gotten
We're gonna
crazy
eat
as
some
you
of
can
the-
as you
we
can
will eat
imagine.
some of the cost.
Anyway, all these individual places we try to shop around to get the best quality but the best price for you. So there is a lag, and we appreciate your patience. It is coming. We promise. Promise.
I mean, I think the
Ooh.
big story was, and it's obviously a good problem to have. Don't get me wrong, but when we put the mugs up, we had only put an order in
for
100 mugs.
Right, and they sold like that day.
There's 2 days.
2 days.
So before they even started making the first order, because these mugs are
People were asking about the second order.
we put in the second order, and they're like, "Are you serious?"
Yeah.
So,
That's how wonderful you guys are. But we're scrambling because we had no idea you are going to be that responsive, and we're
and you
deeply
guys are the
gratified.
ones that came up with a lot of the ideas.
Right?
So we obviously didn't have the inventory because
You did.
you guys are saying, "Hey, make this a shirt. Hey, make that a shirt." We're like,
Okay.
"Okay."
And Jason does a great job. He got
Yes.
things up in, an hour, which is incredible. So, but then that is involved with him going home and shopping around to find the right vendor, et cetera, et cetera. So just so you know, we're working on it.
And obviously, the next time we have something big, and once these all get out, we will have inventory. So it's not. But yeah.
But I mean, who knows? This whole shipping thing could just be a pain in the neck. The only reason I think Amazon does as well as they do is because they own all of that. Well, they own all their trucks. They own all the distribution stuff. They have their own planes. They're not beholden to things coming in from China per se, because it's here. I would imagine by and large.
Yeah, it's just I know we keep asking you to be patient, but
I'm so glad Ralph Northam is going away. I think he's a toxic loser, But as a Democrat, you can wear blackface, right? Justin Trudeau, right? Ralph Northam, right? Ted Danson, sure.
you going right to calls?
Yes, I shall. Thank you. Welcome back, everybody. You're listening to the Wendy Bell radio program. Question before the break. We've got all three lines hot. Hang tight. Give us a call. Is this governor's race in Virginia? Is this really a referendum? Is this the beginning of what voters are going to be saying, speaking out, and choosing in 2022? Is this the beginning of the sign to Joe Biden and to the woke, triggered socialist, Marxist, whatever leftists out there who want to fundamentally change our country, that the rest of us aren't down with it and we're fighting back? Is that the case, or is something else going on? Let's get out to the phones. We got Tom in Baltimore. Hi, Tom. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Wendy. I hate to be the fly in the ointment here, but McCullough canceled a rally. He just canceled it for no reason, and it kind of brings me back to the Biden campaign where he just
disappeared,
stayed in his basement.
Mm-hmm.
What's that?
Yeah, he wasn't around. You're right.
He didn't have to be around because he already won. You know what I'm saying?
I
have a feeling the same deal's going on with this Virginia election. McCullough doesn't have to make an appearance because he's already the winner.
Isn't that a gross thing to say? And isn't it unfortunate that we've already had experience with this emotion? So it's actually appropriate to suggest this.
It is, and I'm like I said, I hate to be the fly in the ointment here, but that's just the way I feel.
No, I don't think you're wrong, and I don't think you're on an island in any way. I think you speak the truth, Tom, and it makes me very sad that in 2021 in the United States of America, that is always in play because people are desperate. You're right. Let's get out to Denise. She's in Altoona, Pennsylvania. Hello, Denise. Welcome.
Hi, Wendy. I love your show. Hey, I'm going to be the second fly in the ointment because that's why I called as well. What is the point of all of this if we're going to have a repeat of the last election? There's a lot of people who are just screaming for reform. Nothing gets done.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we are just banging our heads against the wall if nothing changes in that department. And I think that I really blame the Republicans in Congress. They are silent. They are quiet. They need a backbone. And I would say, please, everybody, get on your phones and call your elected officials, inundate them with emails and phone calls, and demand that they do better.
I agree with you 100%. It takes getting involved. And I agree. But at least we know the Democrats. We know how they operate, clone troopers, chips activated. That's predictable. But the bigger and more dangerous issue are the Republicans who do nothing to fight back. The Republicans who are just as complacent, who are probably, and wait till you see the BS board I'm going to be rolling out here. It's going to open your eyes about what is probably such deep corruption on both sides of the aisle. Number is 833-WBR show. Join the program. Interested in your perspective about this Virginia race. Let's get out to Rhonda in Oregon. Hi, Rhonda. Welcome to the Wendy Bell radio program.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm well. What's going on?
Well, you know, my concern is how California went. I feel California was rigged, and I'm afraid that this might come down to the same thing.
This is interesting. We've got 3 phone calls so far, and all 3 of you are suspicious and doubtful because you have every right to be. Yes?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm here in Marion County, and thank God they're trying to stand up. But Portland is a shit show.
Well, I will say that it's interesting that we've gotten 3 of the same perspectives all at the same time here. And I've also heard rumors that the elections board in, I think it might be Fairfax County in Virginia, saying, you know, well, we might not have everything counted until, I don't know, maybe 3:30 in the morning. Then you've got the Democrat Party in Virginia suing the United States Postal Service because they say some 300,000 mail-in ballots haven't arrived. What happened to the good old days of just going and standing in line, voting in person? You know, it was earlier in the week that we were discussing, or late last week, we were discussing in Racine County, Wisconsin, the sheriff there. And sheriffs have interesting powers. The sheriff there is saying that they have uncovered such terrible and rampant fraud, election fraud, in the nursing homes, where in 2019, in an individual county, something to the neighborhood of 6,000 people had applied for mail-in ballots because they were confined, indefinitely confined, I guess is what they're called. And in 2020, that number grew to 140,000. So somehow 140,000 people in a particular area are unable to leave their homes and go vote in person. You can't look at this with any other eye than suspicion. And I agree with you. And perhaps that is the conversation we should be having. What happens, all right, instead, what happens if this count in Virginia limps through the night, and then all of a sudden, Terry McAuliffe is, by a slim margin, is declared the winner? What happens in Virginia? They already know the wheels of justice move ridiculously slowly. Nothing happens quickly. Hell, look at Maricopa County, Arizona. Look at the incredible mobilization of independent sources going through hand by hand, one ballot at a time, reviewed by 3 different individuals to the tune of 2.1 million ballots. the time, the energy, the transparency, the left pushing back against it. And now where are we? What kind of, have we moved the needle? It doesn't feel like it. Let's get out to Michael in Indianapolis. Hi, Michael. Welcome to the Wendy Bell Radio program.
Wendy, it's good to hear your voice. I really got a feeling that we're going to see the biggest cheating game going on there in Virginia. I just really don't trust it.
Wow. You know, it makes me so sad that this is where we are. So skeptical, but I get it. What makes you say that besides everything that we've experienced for the last year?
I don't know. California was an eye-opener. I really thought they would not re-elect Newsom. Is that his name, I think?
Yes.
So I got a bad feeling that even though Obama and everybody else showed up here in Virginia, that they're going to push this back through. They're going to cheat again. And if they cheat, I think we need to go paper ballots across the board on the election. We need to get representatives that are going to stand and fight with us and get us paper ballots.
I agree. I think the only solution, the only logical solution that would give people any kind of confidence is a complete withdrawal of all electronic voting systems. I think that's the only way. You have to have voter ID. If you have to show your papers in California showing that you've been vaccinated to get into a diner, for God's sake, and to grab a cup of soup and a sandwich, and yet you can go vote and not prove at all who you are, where you live, Houston, we've got a problem, and that's the problem. Let's get out to Paul in Kittanning. Hi, Paul. Welcome to the show, sir.
Wendy, I can't speak to the Virginia thing specifically. I hope it's an awakening for people, but there was a flash that came out this morning from our illustrious governor and overseer of the land before time. He openly admitted that he might have committed fraud by having his wife take his ballot into an election office. And when I called the state elections bureau, I've been getting a runaround on this. And I mean, here's the governor, okay? Here's the governor of our state who might have committed an infraction, and the people there were kind of reluctant to do anything about it. They said, well, he can sign somebody to do that. I said, you need to prove that.
Well, I would also remind you, Paul, that this is the same Democratic governor of this Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, who has been proven to have funneled $21 million in Mark Zuckerberg election monies to specific Democrat cities. Counties rather, here in Pennsylvania. So there you go, the ultimate in partisan politics. So does it even surprise you in the slightest that he wouldn't take elections seriously? It wasn't supposed to be taken seriously because they were going to cheat the whole time. Paul, I get your point. I appreciate you making the phone call, sir. Thank you. Amy is in Virginia. Hello, Amy. What's going on? It's a big day for you guys.
Good morning, Miss Wendy. Just wanted to let you know I went to the polls this morning here in Virginia. I'm in a small area, New Kent County, and I was pleasantly surprised to see that there was a tiny wait in line, probably no more than 8 minutes. But I was glad to see a lot of folks out there rocking their vote. But like a lot of folks, I too feel a little weary about our elections down here, seeing that Terry McAuliffe has already hired an attorney to make sure that the election is fair. And it happens to be one of Hillary Clinton's attorneys and her little coup-a-coups. So I hope Virginia at least goes out and votes. I hope if they have to cheat, they really have to cheat. And I hope that if it does come down to that, that we stand up and we start letting them hear that we do not want their ways anymore. We're done with it.
I agree with you.
I appreciate everything that you guys do. And come on, Virginia, you got to wake up. You got to wake up.
Come on, America is more like it.
In Virginia, if I'm not mistaken, I read yesterday that the McAuliffe camp already sued the United States Postal Service because apparently there was a bunch of ballots that.
Yeah, that's what I just said. I said the Democrats there had sued for 300,000 ballots, and apparently, why do you need 300,000 mail-in ballots, Terry? Why can't you get out of your house for an hour and walk down the street to the local elementary school gymnasium and vote? The good old days before everything was rigged and all of America doubted the results. I got, let's see, we got Mike in South Carolina. Mike, I'm going to ask you to hang for me on the flip side of this quick commercial break because I don't want to race through you and squeeze you in. Guys, call 833-WBR show. I'm interested in your perspective. I'm feeling a lot of skepticism here. And you know what? It's duly felt. I get it. How do you have faith in a system that's so obviously corrupted? And the Gavin Newsom thing in California, the grassroots effort to take that complete boob out of office, the disastrous leadership, and to have it squelched to the degree that it was. Yeah, you think it's a little fishy, huh? I agree with you. I want to tell you briefly about my friend, Dr. Charles Simkovich at the Simkovich Concussion Institute. He does something that's non-surgical that helps people who suffer from traumatic brain injury and concussion. And not only does he get rid of your symptoms, which enough are making your life miserable, and obviously the people around you feel terrible for you as well, he helps heal your brain. The actual healing of the muscle there. I mean, it's amazing what he can do. And so many of his people get complete relief in less than a week. Isn't it worth it to you to pick up the phone call and to make your no-cost appointment for an evaluation? 412-366-3700 is his number. 412-366-3700, SimkovichConcussionInstitute.com. He is a super great guy. You're going to love him. All right. More of your calls. We got the lines are hot. Love to hear you. We're going to talk more about the election in Virginia. Do you even trust that it's going to come out fairly? Because what really has lately? You're listening to the Wendy Bell radio program.
JD.
Wow, that's a lot of skepticism out there, Brock.
Yeah, I don't get it.
I do.
I mean, I get it.
I do.
I just don't know, because the sentiment of the country right now is so bad, and you've seen the polls flip so bad. And
why does that mean that they wouldn't be able to cheat to that degree?
It's the same reason. I think Donald Trump got elected. They didn't know it was going to be this bad.
I understand, which is why I said I was leery of any kind of report saying that they would have to count into the wee hours of the morning. It's not election week. It's election day. Get it done. How many billions and billions of dollars go to our counties to pay for this kind of crap?
Well, if we
get it done.
If we see the stopping of the counting and stuff like that, then we'll know. And I don't know. I think that, call me an optimist. I think that a lot of good things came out of the Trump election.
I think if the Biden administration and the cheaters all on both sides were smart, they would let this race go. They would let Glenn Youngkin win, and they would limp into the sunset knowing Terry McAuliffe is a complete dipstick, and they would try to deflect away from 2020. You don't want anybody to pay attention. It's the big lie.
Look, it's fair now.
I agree, which is total BS, and we know it. We'll still screw you all in 2022, but we'll give you this little palate cleanser.
Here we go.
That's gross, isn't it?
Give it 5 seconds.
John D'Onofrio is the lawyer I trust with some of life's most delicate and personal matters. Like when you pass away, what happens to your money? What happens to your wealth? Who does it go to? And what kind of taxes does that person have to pay on it? John is the estate lawyer with the most knowledge. 40 years he's been doing this. He gets the legal maze. And he sits down and he creates an estate plan that's right specifically for you. He is honest. He is my friend. He's my lawyer. Call him today, 412-928-2068. Attorney John D'Onofrio. All right, let's get back out to the phones. We got Mike in South Carolina. Mike, in the stream, we were talking off camera about how if the Democratic Party and the complicit Republicans here know how to do something smart, they will let Glenn Youngkin win so everybody isn't up in arms and they can kind of deflect some of the energy from the big lie, which was that Donald Trump lost in 2020.
Okay, here's what I got to say on that. Youngkin is going to win.
Okay.
All right? There's good. That lawyer that, what's her name, Amy, was just talking about, he is very famous for fraud as far as fraud cases.
Mm-hmm.
This is why he was hired, because they're going to use the same thing we did a year ago. We claimed fraud. They said, shut up. There is no fraud. There's nothing to see here. But they're going to turn around and yell that same thing, and they're going to push it and push it and push it till the end. And they're going to tell us, shut up. Here's all the fraud that you need to see today.
Got it. So you're saying that McCullough's people have preemptively hired that lawyer to prepare the loss. Gotcha. Okay. I like it. I like your thought process. It's a little more optimistic in its dirtiness. I like that. Thanks so much, Mike. Appreciate you. Here's Chris in Pittsburgh. Hi, Chris. Welcome to the Wendy Bell radio program.
Hey, Wendy.
Hi.
My concern is the Democrats already have the plan in place. We saw it with the 2020 election. What's to stop them from doing it every election going forward? I mean, no matter how much we get out into the street and are up in arms about it, they can do what they want, and we're just have to deal with it.
You know what? I don't disagree with you. And that's why I wonder if they cherry pick. Like, for instance, if the Democrats have the key, and by the way, this isn't just Democrats who are complicit in this. There's some nasty and more dangerous Republicans who are along for the ride. They're all sleeping together. It's one big incestuous nightmare. But if they allow the left to continue to score victories here, I think that the suspicion of even the very moderate independents, they're not going to go along for this ride. They could very easily lose the moderates forever. Do you think that's wrong?
No, I don't think that's wrong at all. I think that's 100% accurate.
Right. So you say they've got all the tools in place. They could keep cheating until the cows come home. I can't disagree with you, Chris. Appreciate your call, sir. Thanks so much. We got Joe in St. Mary's. Hi, Joe. Welcome.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm terrific. What do you think?
I'm like a lot of the previous callers. I'm very skeptical that this election is going to be fair. I believe they will try to cheat. For that reason, I think everyone needs to get out there and vote.
Amen.
Make it much more difficult for them to cheat. And if they do cheat, make it blatantly obvious that they are doing it.
Right on. I think there is one solution. And those of us, regardless of whether you vote the way I do, you need to get out and do so. Absolutely. We can't have 25 or 30% voter show up anymore. That's ridiculous. I think you bring up a great point. Got to flood them. Got to flood them with numbers. Obviously, I'd like you to flood them with numbers on the GOP side. But let's get out to Jesse in California. Hi, Jesse. Welcome to the program. Jesse, are you there?
Hi. I'm here. Hi.
Hi.
I don't want anybody to sit out on this one. Regardless of how you feel, you got to get out. You got to get out and vote. Vote. You got to show up in numbers.
Yeah, and you speak from experience in California, do you not?
Yes. Because we know that elder won, but they rigged it. You know, and we have the receipt.
Yeah,
so, we do the same in Virginia. Please get out and vote.
I appreciate you. Thanks so much for the call, Jesse. You know, and that is the desperation that you hear. You know, it's like we shouldn't have to be desperate to want to save our freaking country from liars and schemers and cheaters. This is who we have. This is why I say again and again and again, we need more veterans. We need people who've served this country, who've been willing to put down their lives to die. Not just for us here in the United States, but for total strangers around the world. Think about the things that we've asked the men and women who wear our uniform to do for us. Do you think they're going to come home and be easily bought? Do you think their buy-off point is perhaps a little bit higher than the typical career politician? Than the Joe Bidens, the Nancy Pelosi's, the Chuck Schumers, the Mitch McConnells who've never held a damn job in their lives? And who vote themselves back into office and rig the system so they never have to leave? If there is one thing we've got to get done, we've got to have term limits. We must be able to eliminate these people. We must have new ideas. We must constantly be flushing people out and cycling people in. New ideas, a fresh approach. Because it seems like the longer they're there, the easily tempted they become. I think you guys are going to absolutely lose your minds when I show you what we've uncovered on the BS board today. A timeline about COVID. You know, I've long said, and people on the right who've called a plandemic, oh, those are tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theorists. Those right wingers, probably insurrectionists. No, they're people who do a lot of research. They're people who dig into the documents and follow the paper trail and look at the money, the transactions. They connect the dots. And I've got some dots that my friends don't add up. And if what I'm going to suspect is true, Congress is as guilty as hell for what our country has been through for the last almost 2 years. I'll walk you through it, and it'll make you mad. Next on the Wendy Bell Radio program. It is interesting to hear the skepticism. You have every right to be skeptical.
Absolutely. I think it's funny. The only time in government we don't have term limits are for the people who are the ones responsible for voting new laws in. Everywhere else we have...
This would be the worst time, I think, the worst time to try to pull over a fast one on the American people. You've got a very weak candidate. You have a fiery, in the crosshairs subject of children being raped in their schools in Virginia. By the way, this isn't just a Virginia thing.
No.
But in this particular focus, it is. You have school boards who've lied, who've covered it up, school superintendents, school board associations wanting to demonize parents. You have the highly publicized photo and video of a dad speaking up about his daughter's rape and his pushback against the whole transgender bathroom BS, which is absolutely absurd in a school, getting plastered all over the media. You've got Terry McAuliffe, who's a weakling at best, all of the weakling clowns on the left coming out to support him. And then you have this insurgence of parents and people who just want what's right and what's safe. This is the wrong one to fiddle with. I say they better be smart. If we're going to presume that everything's rigged anyway, and the only way to stop that is to get these electronic systems out of our voting environment, this is the wrong one to fiddle with. This is why they want to take people's guns. So there is no possibility for anybody to truly revolt if anything ever came totally sideways on this.
I just want to see people not. This is what got us in trouble in Georgia. People were like, well, why bother? Well, you gave them the perfect opportunity to say, look, you know.
Why bother? Because
you gave them every reason to say, well, look, your voter turnout was low because you said you didn't care.
Right.
Here it's hard to say, because they see how fired up people are. It's going to be hard for them to say, well, you just didn't get a turnout, because we know what the turnout rate's normally going to be. Especially, and these midterm off-year elections are usually GOP heavy. We'll see what the turnout ratio is. I know where I'm going right after work. And the sad thing is, I'll vote in 2 seconds. There'll be no line. I still don't understand why this isn't a day off.
Yeah.
We have one for unions and Labor Day, but we don't have one for voting. Makes no sense.
Well, meanwhile, the majority of America's been sitting on the couch anyway, getting paid. What's another day?
Hey, Pennsylvania, you get the shot. You get five paid holiday vacation days. How much is that costing us?
You know what? If you were, you get the jab, you get a $500 Visa gift card. You get 2 sick days. What if you go vote in person and show your little receipt that you get? Everybody's has got to be different. And then take a couple hours in the morning to go do that. You don't even need a day.
No.
You just need a couple hours.
That's
you
a
need,
good idea.
And you come in and you put down your thing and you get something. Like how about congratulations, you're an American and you have the right and the freedom to choose. How about that? We know that won't sell because we need free crap, you know.
But hey,
John Fetterman can give out free pipes to everybody. Here's a bong. Go home and get high. Oh, good. I'm so glad you're running for Senate. That's why I call it the land before time. Truly is baffling.
listen, the sound for me is not going to be perfect today, so I get it, guys.
This is going to be, why don't you just shut off your phone and restart it? It doesn't take long. I do it every other day.
Why are you saying you want me to?
Well, no, I mean, it's not a huge deal. It's not like you need a factory reset. We're going to be whipping out the board, guys, and it's going to irk you.
Big time.
Trust me. So I'm going to read the article first, okay? And then I'm going to wheel out the board and we're going to go through the bullet points because it's a lot to chew on, but it's worthwhile.
Just give me we're going to the board or something.
I'm going to make it very coded so you can't pick up on it. I think that's probably my best move. Oh, by the way, I'm fabulous.
And by the way, I'm invited not to know how, I wasn't invited to know how you're going to go to the BS board. Mm-hmm. See how I spun that?
Yeah, and you kind of botched it too.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Work on the messaging. Do you guys find out, I think probably any of you who've held a baby, do you find that you sway a lot when you stand still?
This is like the 8th time you've talked about this.
Do you that? You sway? It's 8th time? I don't think so.
Yes.
I'm not so sure I've ever, no.
You have, so.
Oh, well, whatever, I'm the boss. HR says you need to shut it.
Sounds like we need to visit the HR. Hold on, we're going to HR?
Look, I've got my guns on. Yes, I've got my guns. Oh, you're going to take your bat, are you? Okay.
Coming armed.
Mm-hmm.
And if anyone was wondering, so if they're out there counting my vote, I did vote Republican.
For what?
For whatever I'm going to vote for.
Well, duh, it's the only option.
Using facts to take on the woke politicians, triggered leftists, and the corporate media.
You just got to try harder not to suck.
Live across the Fruited Plain and from the Shining Sea, you are listening to the Wendy Bell radio program.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to the Wendy Bell Radio program. For all of you newcomers out there who are unfamiliar with the show, it is very basic. We're dedicated to actually being the Lone Ranger when it comes to integrity, when it comes to honesty, when it comes to data, facts, science, information. We source it for you so you can double check us and you can find your own truth. This is a great way to get educated, to take on the left. They like to shut you down. They'll probably call you a racist, but we've got all of the pushback on that as well. This next segment, I dare say, is going to get some of you very angry. In fact, it should get all of you very angry. In the last year and a half, we've been marching you through, day after day, inconsistencies, anomalies, suspicions, questions, coincidences that simply don't add up, specifically when it comes to this pandemic. There have just been too many questions, too many things that I think a rational mind would chew on to make sense. One of the biggest red flags to me was my discovery that 2 months before the alleged pandemic started here in the United States, that the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and by the way, anything those people touch, I am absolutely dubiously questioning of, for sure. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation funded a pandemic training scenario. I believe it was in New York. And the whole point of it was, in the event of some kind of a virus, how would we react? And there were medical professionals, and there were scientists, there were members of the media talking about this dissemination of information. There was even a group of people who were talking about how to manage misinformation and the realm of big tech, making sure that misinformation was controllable. All a little too suspicious, don't you think? Why on earth, 2 months before COVID-19 was discovered in America, kind of like the New World, why were they planning that? Well, and that brings us to this. Congress made crucial change to vaccine definition weeks before COVID-19. So you know how the Build Back Better BS that Joe Manchin just effectively squelched, God bless him, 2,464 pages long, whatever it is. How many of your congressmen and women do you think actually read every single page? Any? I remember when Brock and I were getting the original CARES Act, the bloated, porculous, obnoxious bill that was passed under the guise of keeping everybody home and safe. They can't go to work. They're going to get sick. And so we spent trillions upon trillions of dollars. So I reached out to one of our local congressmen, well, the state congressman, obviously. They said, hey, do you have access to the bill? May we see it and read it? Oh, sure, he said. And he put his gal in touch with me, and she sent me the Republican talking points, a PDF of maybe 4 pages. And I looked at it and I wrote back, no, the bill. And he wrote back, the whole bill? And I said, the whole bill. And we printed it. Brock took half. I took half. And we spent the better part of 2 days going over every provision in the bill. In fact, I dare say it was the genesis of the BS board, because we needed to find a way to illustrate to everybody at home who doesn't have the time or the inclination to read 2,500 pages of garbage what they're actually paying for. And we did. On December 20th of 2019, notice the timing. This is 1 month before COVID was first found here in the United States, which was on January 20th of 2020. 1 month prior to that, 4 weeks, December 20th, 2019, Congress approved the Further Consolidated Appropriations Act. Do you remember that? No, you don't, because it wasn't something that made the headlines. It wasn't a big thing. It was like a lot of tying up of loose ends. We've got all this ridiculous bureaucracy. We need to fix some of the provisions in it. 716 pages long. Buried deep within this legal document, where of course Congress knows nobody will spend the time to dig. On page 595, in fact, section 604 changes the definition of a vaccine. Why is this important? In December 2019, before the reported outbreak of COVID-19, the U.S. federal government signed a contract with Moderna, which stated mRNA coronavirus vaccine candidates are developed and jointly owned by both Moderna and the U.S. federal government. Now, why would they do that? A month before COVID hit the United States, the federal government and Moderna signed a contract saying, hey, we're working jointly on this vaccine for something nobody knows about yet. Curious timing, number one. Also, in December of 2019, the U.S. federal government changed the definition of the term biological product in federal laws governing vaccine labeling, emergency use authorization, and approval. Why is that significant? Well, without the December 2019 change to U.S. law defining biological product, the mRNA COVID-19 vaccines may have been required to be labeled as something other than a vaccine, which may have prevented them from being labeled that way at all and being mandated for you and others to take. So, to review, a month before COVID, first test positive in the United States, the federal government and Moderna join forces and agree they're going to jointly own a vaccine. For what? Something that wasn't here yet. That same month, Congress curiously passes this measure that changes the definition of a biological product. Now, it would probably be much more difficult for governments and or employers to mandate workers receive coronavirus mRNA substances labeled as drugs or other non-vaccine products, and consider the guilt tripping of physicians and nurses and others into receiving and supporting mRNA COVID-19 substances with the potential false accusation of anti-vaxxer would also be out of the question if these substances were not labeled as vaccines. Now, this is interesting. To become approved in the United States, vaccine manufacturers are required to submit something called a biologic license application to the United States federal government. U.S. federal law has vaccines included in the category of biological products. Now, prior to the 2019 change to the federal law, this was the definition of biological product. The term biological product means a virus, therapeutic serum, toxin, antitoxin, vaccine, blood component or derivative, allergenic product, protein, and this is the important part, except any chemically synthesized polypeptide or analogous product applicable to the prevention, treatment, or cure of a disease or condition of human beings. after December of 2019, that specific clause there, except any chemically synthesized polypeptide, was removed from the definition of a biologic product. Why is that significant? What do you think the COVID mRNA vaccine is? Perhaps a chemically synthesized polypeptide? Perhaps removing that clause, enabled the government to call this experimental vaccine a vaccine? Because without that label, without being called a label, they would be unable to get emergency use authorization. They would be unable to mandate that all of us get it. And I'm just scratching the surface. If you are in the market for health insurance, and I think all of us need to have coverage, but I mean, good golly, after the Unaffordable Care Act, it became such a joke to know where to go. What kind of product suits you, depending upon your medical history, your prescriptions that you take, any diagnoses that you've had. How are you going to get the plan that's right for you? Well, my friend Tom Yakupin represents New Era Health Plans, and he knows he can save you right now between 25 to 50%, maybe even more, on your premiums, your copays, your deductibles, by just sitting down with you and having a conversation. Does that sound like something that would be worthwhile for you? I think so. This guy has so much knowledge, and I trust him implicitly. One more time, his name is Tom Yakupin, and the product is called New Era Health Plans. You can go to newerahealthplans.com or phone Tom directly. Schedule an appointment. It costs you nothing to do this. 724-230-4500. Get in touch with him today. It's worthwhile. All right. We're just getting started on this. I'm going to walk you through a little bit more of this and then break out the board to give you the bullet points you need the next time anybody tries to argue that this thing obviously wasn't planned. You're watching or paying attention to the Wendy Bell Radio program. This biological product definition is disgusting. They're playing semantics. It's like Bill Clinton. Depends on what your definition of is.
Right.
Really? Last time I checked, that wasn't a question. They're so despicable and slimy. This is Fauci, by the way. Fauci is saying that what they funded with the bat lady whack job in the Wuhan Institute of Virology, that's not what caused coronavirus. Because there's probably one element or one molecule that's not correct. They're gross.
It's politics.
Yeah.
This is what politicians do.
Mm-hmm.
They tell you 70% of what you see in the commercial might be true.
Yes. But then the fine print at the end, it might kill you. Yeah. And if you take it and something goes weird with you, you can't sue us.
Right.
Call now. But wait, now how much would you pay?
How fast would you get it?
Yes. Right. They're shadow banning us in a big way today. I must be super fabulous.
You did mention DVOC.
I did mention DVOC. It's such a shame that you have to play reindeer games as a grown-up when dealing with something that allegedly has killed millions of people around the planet.
I'm trying to find us a live stream
of
results if they have any yet.
10:30 Eastern time.
I think you're going to see it at the very beginning. Huge for McAuliffe because they're going to count all the
BS mail-in crap. Well, But you know what? Do you even believe? I mean, so you've got the people cheating. You've got the media covering up for them. You have big tech changing the likes and dislikes of people who clearly aren't liked. I mean, it's all just nasty. That's why this program is so refreshing.
Because of me?
Because of Brock. Yes.
Said with such gusto. On CNN right now, they're talking about going green. Because that's the most important.
They didn't even cover Glenn Youngkin yesterday. They didn't cover any of this. None of the networks. Shocking.
Oh.
Why ever would that be?
News. Yeah, right. Fake news. Sure, they were all over it. Here we go.
All right, wake up, everybody. Hello, hello. It's time for you to pay attention to the BS board. It is time, yes, for that beautiful jingle.
Time to cut the crap, because Wendy's breaking out the Ireland Contracting BS board.
Oh, yes, this is where facts and truth live, sourced for you so you can do your own research. Here's what it says. Coincidence? And you know how I feel when there's a question mark. It's really kind of a question that's not being answered because we already know the answer. Source, U.S. Congress. Oh, yes, all you have to do is search under the Further Consolidated Appropriations Act, which is another yawner of a legislative book put out by our members of Congress, which I guarantee you 98% of them never even read past page 100, if they got that deep. It's 716 pages long, and on page 595 is a very interesting provision that we are speaking of specifically, and it's a change in verbiage, the change in a definition made exactly 4 weeks before the first positive COVID test was reported here in the United States. You can also read this entire article. It has links to all the PDFs, every specific section of this congressional document, if you will, this law change at lifesitenews.com. So to review what has been buried on page 595. On December 20th, 2019, Congress makes a crucial change to the definition of vaccine. Again, this is just weeks before the first COVID cases reported in the U.S. Buried on page 595 of the 716-page barn-burning document is the this is called a federal funding act that this is buried into. Says this, U.S. government signs a contract with Moderna, stating the mRNA coronavirus vaccine candidates are developed and jointly owned by the Moderna and U.S. federal government. Hey, Moderna, we over here at the federal government, we're going to be doing something we know of that nobody knows of yet. It's probably cool for us to join forces so we can all get rich. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to get loaded because we're going to make sure that your jab is approved. Yes? We are going to cover for you, force everybody to get it. Therefore, we'll all get rich. Deal? Is that an extrapolation? Role playing? Sounds like it's very possible. Why would they do that 4 weeks before COVID came to America? Number 2, the U.S. government changes the definition of biological product tucked in there after the section in this federal funding act that changes the legal age of kids to buy tobacco products from 18 to 21 is this change. The definition of biological product. They change it in federal laws governing vaccine labeling, emergency use authorization, and approval. Number 3, prior to that change, which was made on December 20th of 2019, the term biological product meant a virus, therapeutic serum, toxin, antitoxin, vaccine, blood component or derivative, allergenic product, protein. Big point here. This is the key point. Except any chemically synthesized polypeptide, mRNA. applicable to the prevention, treatment, or cure of a disease or condition of human beings. Number 4, the change in federal law removed the phrase except any chemically synthesized polypeptide, the mRNA magical serum. Vaccines require a biologic license application. Had the phrase except any chemically synthesized polypeptide not been removed from that law, COVID mRNA vaccines, with air quotes, could not be legally called vaccines, and as such, could not be mandated. They could not be given emergency use authorization before extensive clinical testing. They could not have been warped, sped. They could not have been rolled out with that speed, with that fervor. So tell me, ladies and gentlemen, what is it that the United States federal government knew 4 weeks before we started getting sick? And how many of you have lost somebody you love, to COVID? And why is it that your federal government does not allow you to know about alternate treatments, that the only solution is something that they've been tinkering with long before we even knew this scourge was here? Now tell me, you trust your government? You know I don't. You're listening to the Wendy Bell Radio program. Makes me sick.
So for you guys that are wondering who voted for this, I just went back and looked up Congress Federal Funding Act 2019. And it says the Senate bill was passed with a 92-6 vote, and the House of Reps passed it by a vote of 359 to 53. So take with that you will, but it sounds like pretty much everyone voted for it. And I'm not making excuses for politicians, but you heard what Wendy said about the CARES Act when we asked for it. They don't read this. This is the problem. I was saying that how many people, the Senate passed that 92-6, and the House of Reps passed it 359 to 53. None of them read it. The 53 probably abstained just because it was a Democrat or...
I guarantee you it was some procedural vote right before lunch, right before the Christmas break.
And nobody was in there.
Hey, I'm shopping. I'm on Amazon shopping for my grandkids. You know?
Here. How many of them were here's? And
that was a good call for you to check out the vote. I guarantee you the only person who voted against it. Does it show you?
It doesn't say. I'm sure I could dig a little farther.
Let's see if I can.
I mean, I'm not in Congress. I mean, I could probably find that by tomorrow.
Ha! I get it. They'll get back to you next year.
I can find the text. then Trump signed it apparently on December 27, 2020.
What? Where are his people? Right?
Well, I mean, let's be honest, he's out of office in a month.
Well, you know what? Yeah.
Minneapolis voters to decide on replacing police department today. Good idea, Minnesota. Good idea. Way to pander. You get what you deserve. Karma's up. Yeah, I'll circle back on that answer tomorrow.
I want to find that, and I just.
Was that the bill to just fund the government? Because I have another one they voted on. The Senate voted 81 to 11 to approve a $1.4 trillion spending package that will fund the federal government through the end of September 2020.
I don't know. I thought I'd found it, but I haven't. Snap.
Crackle.
Rats.
Corn pop.
You know what? Do I have a quick moment to say something about Ireland contracting?
Yes, you have.
I love talking about them while I've got the board behind me.
A+ rated.
I do love Ireland contracting. I just like good people who work hard and make an honest living and don't screw you over. And that's Ireland contracting. And when you're talking about a big project on the exterior of your house, if you need a new roof or you need new windows, you don't want a shyster. You want somebody who does what they say they're going to do. They do it within your budget or even come under budget, and they stand by their work. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, Angie's List, Guild Quality, and the Wendy Bell Radio program. Ireland Contracting is the place to go for your home exterior remodeling needs. Check them out. IrelandContracting.com, 1-800-NEW-ROOF. They are sensational human beings. You'll love them, Gary and Diane. Sorry, I know I get really close to you guys. It's like, bah.
Here we go.
Welcome back. You are tuned into the Wendy Bell Radio program. And as I think about the last segment we just walked through, enough with these plans that Nancy Pelosi jokingly says, which is so insulting to anybody who wakes up and works hard for a living. You'll have to pass it to see what's in it. I think Obamacare was the first one that was so outrageous. The items in it, the sheer magnitude in it, the restrictions, the new bureaucracy, the paper pushing, the hoops, the garbage. Did anybody really benefit from that? Have you ever heard somebody say, you know what, man, if it wasn't for the Affordable Care Act, I'd be just screwed? I haven't. I know I live with a doctor. And I know that the thing that he dislikes and why he dissuades our children from following in any semblance of his family's medical footsteps is the bureaucracy, the paperwork, the garbage of it. so stuffed in some monumental just Goliath of waste and greed and pet projects, we are hosed again and again and again. Can you tell me why there would be in the Building Back Better provision the $1.75 trillion debacle? That's not even starting to talk about infrastructure. That's a new plan. So they tried to make it sound like, well, we listened to you. We shrunk it down quite a bit. We pared about, $1.5 trillion out. We hear you. We're with you. No, you didn't. You just cut it in half and put lipstick on a different pig. Do you really think that there should be a provision in there that gives $2 billion for tree equity? I mean, honest to God, now the number of trees you have in your neighborhood is racist? You can't make it up. But follow the money. The money, the money, the money. There is no money in you being well. There is no money if you don't live in fear. There is no money if you decide to do your own research and find out that by and large, if you're moderately healthy and under the age of 70, you're probably going to do just fine, even if you get COVID. There is no money if you don't comply. But what this document shows us is that Congress has gotten way too comfortable tucking in things that fundamentally they know nobody's going to read. It's just way too damn big. Houston, we have a problem. These people aren't dumb. They knew well in advance of our family members being locked up in nursing homes. How many of you didn't get to see someone you loved before they died? Because it wasn't safe. How much do they know? How much did they do? Polls, nearly half of Americans think the top doctor, Anthony Fauci, lied about U.S. funding gain-of-function research in China. This is huge. It's not just Republicans, ladies and gentlemen. It's not just those of us who actually do our due diligence and read and connect the dots and stay up late at night and go through the things. Well, why does Dr. Fauci have all of this connection with this strange organization, EcoHealth Alliance, that's run by some English guy named Peter Daszak? And what are they doing with this guy, Ralph Barrick, at the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill? I asked 10 months ago. This just in. They're all connected. Follow the money. All these people who want to tell you that it's your obligation, if you cared about other people, just get the vaccine. I'm sorry that they're woefully uneducated. I'm sorry that they've been snookered by the Ginsu knife-selling Congress. I'm sorry that they can't connect the dots. That every step that you make to acquiesce to their requests gets you no further to freedom. They're all backpedaling. Every time you give in, when you're scratching your head saying, wait a minute, there's that feeling inside of me. I feel uncomfortable. And now they're going after 28 million school kids. between the ages of 5 and 12? Where is the next batch of money coming from? Well, if you vaccinate every single one of those people, that's another $7.5 billion. Remember, the vaccine is free, costs you nothing. Yeah, it does. Your taxes pay for that. Your taxes enrich the people who are getting absolutely loaded off of it. And don't you wonder how deeply the insidious swamp goes into the bowels of evil? This document submits that there's something very suspicious going on. That before we even had COVID, before it was something that we were taking seriously, members of Congress knowingly modified the verbiage of a law to enable a product that has never been put on the market before to not only be marketed, but to be mandated. How many governors had to sign on for that? How corrupt is your FDA? And the 17 advisors who unanimously voted to approve something. And while we're talking about it, how about this? I wrote this down a couple days ago. Some of the major players with the FDA. Scott Gottlieb, former FDA commissioner, sits on the board at Pfizer, owns thousands of shares of Pfizer stock, also sits on the boards of Illumina and Tempest Labs, which sell what? FDA authorized COVID testing kits? Huh. Also sits on the board of Aetion, which has partnered with the FDA on researching COVID-19 policy. Now, if that's not a triple play of conflict of interest, I'm just not paying attention. Well, then there's Stephen Hahn. Let's not forget him. He led the FDA when it authorized the Moderna jabs. He recently failed upwards. Took an executive level position at Flagship Pioneering, the company that, what? Launched Moderna. Flagship holds 20 million shares of Moderna stock. Flagship also holds, as of October 6th of this year, those shares were valued at $6.5 billion. Flagship CEO co-founded Moderna. And that co-founder owns 2 million shares of Moderna stock and is the current chairman of Moderna. In September, Stephen Hahn was appointed the CMO, Chief Medical Officer at Flagship, and launched Your BioHealth, which sells what? COVID testing kits. Mark McClellan, an FDA commissioner from 2000 to 2004, has failed upwards to sit on the board of directors at Johnson & Johnson, where he's been since 2013. We've been played. We are so royally played. Everybody's getting rich except you and me. We're paying for it. It's not going to cost anything. No new taxes. In fact, it's going to reduce the federal deficit. There's only one soundbite to play, and it's our good friend. Oh, yes. My message.
I say this with respect, with all the respect I can muster. You've just got to try harder not to suck.
There you go. And these are the people embodied in Terry McAuliffe, whose last-ditch effort yesterday was to tell the people of Virginia that the teachers there are too white. That he wants to, on day one, bring in people of all sorts of different backgrounds, so long as they're not white. And he wants to educate them. We're going to send you to college. free room, free board, free education, as long as you serve 5 years in our public schools. What is this, the Army? The reserves? You give us 1 weekend a month and 2 weeks a year. And who pays for that? Oh yeah, that's right, that'd be you. These people do not deserve the honor of serving us. They do not deserve the dignity of a title. These deranged, corrupt, greedy bastards who have the audacity to wear flag pins as though they actually believe in and support we the people. Make no mistake. Follow the money. All circles back to the same players. The Disc Institute of Pittsburgh, at least, is a place where I feel, I know, people are told the truth. If you suffer from bulging, herniated, or degenerative discs in your back or neck, and you know what that means, completely restricts your ability to live pain-free and with joy. If you've been told surgery or epidurals, injections into your spine, are the only answer for you, you've got to go see Dr. Richard Rafferty. It costs you nothing to sit down with him and for him to tell you if you're a candidate for his revolutionary procedure that doesn't just heal your pain, it heals your discs. 98% successful intra-disc neutrosis. I'm very particular about my sponsors. I trust him. He's the real deal. 412-906-9600. PittsburghDiscInstitute.com. You know, the one person perhaps in Congress who seems to have his head on straight, Joe Manchin, the unlikely salvation from West Virginia, saying what every freaking person who puts their hand on the Bible and the other up in the air saying they're going to support us and the Constitution. What he said, why it should breathe some hope into you. Coming up next on the Wendy Bell Radio program.
Battle.
Thank you very much. Indeed, you are correct.
You could not make this stuff. If we wrote this in a movie script, that all these people were connected and they were all making, you'd be like, come on.
You know what? I saw it's interesting that you say that because somebody sent me a thing about where the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation money is gone. And, you know, on my board, I'll do like, you know, sometimes it gets a little out of control, but there are parameters. This one is literally like a wall mural with so many lines showing how many hundreds of millions of dollars have gone places.
Oh, sure.
Depopulation project in Africa, like so much crazy crap. You can't make it up. And if you were to do that and connect all the people who had a role in ruining so many lives, in taking away your business, in depleting your savings, in making your kid wear a damn mask, your head would spin.
At some point, like, you have to wonder, like, where in his world did this, like, mentality of I know better, I can control. Is it the money? Was he already like that? What corrupted him to that?
I don't know if it's like an insecurity fed ego that becomes narcissistic. Like how I've long told you that people on television are the most narcissistic people in the world. I might be wrong. It could be people who are politicians.
Well, it's like him saying, well, Jeffrey Epstein's dead.
Yeah. Okay.
With that smirk on his face.
Mm-hmm. Who's he?
What's his name? Gates. Remember that interview?
Yeah. You know, I love telling you every day about the battlegrounds. You know, as a parent, it's hard to find a cool place to have a party for your kids that everybody hasn't been to. Like Chuck E. Cheese, right? When they grow up, you want to go to the battlegrounds. It is the coolest thing in the world. Indoor airsoft, Nerf gun, bow tag, rivals, slingshots, playground, blow your mind. You get a party there, you get 2.5 hours. You get all the gear, you get the training, you get the referees to make sure it's safe. You get people on your party to make sure it's fun. You get to run around, get sweaty, and shoot people. I mean, literally at the end of the day, what more could you possibly want? You're going to love the battlegrounds. If you've not been, check out their video walkthroughs of their 2 Nerf gun and 2 airsoft fields. Thebattlegroundspa.com. Call this number to learn more, 412-530-2192. And remember, don't just play the game, be the game at the battlegrounds. You know, in a wow moment of sobriety, and like, oh, what? There's somebody who doesn't suck in Congress? Maybe a little bit. Joe Manchin. He said he will not support the $1.75 trillion Build Back Better BS plan before the infrastructure deal until he knows the impact on inflation and the national debt. What? Fiscal responsibility? Somebody who's not walking around with their head firmly uprooted in their you-know-what? Let's hear what somebody who's not being conned or bought off talks like. Go.
Throughout the last 3 months, I've been straightforward about my concerns that I will not support a reconciliation package that expands social programs and irresponsibly adds to our $29 trillion in national debt that no one seems to really care about or even talk about. Nor will I support a package that risks hurting American families suffering from historic inflation. Simply put, I will not support a bill that is this consequential without thoroughly understanding the impact that it'll have on our national debt, our economy, and most importantly, all of our American people. Every elected representative needs to know what they are voting for and the impact it has, not only on their constituents, but the entire country.
Wow. $29 trillion. They're playing with funny money as though the bills will never come due. I've said it before. If any of us made the fiscally irresponsible decisions that the United States Congress pats themselves on the back and celebrates to make, with what, 5 to 8 trillion more on the horizon that they're chewing on as though it's even remotely what? If we made those decisions, we would be out on the street. Your mortgage company doesn't give you a break. They're not, look, I'm sorry, I know it's been tough. Why don't you take a couple months, figure it out, and maybe we'll charge you, maybe we won't. The rules of life and adult choices don't operate like that for those of us who actually work. Why doesn't anybody ever get up in Congress and say, excuse me, Madam Speaker, have you read this bill? Because it's 2,500 pages long. And if I were to do the math on that, it would take about 38 hours. So have you been reading it nonstop when I haven't been seeing you? Do you know what's actually in this? No, no, and no. But we did sneak a lot of jazz in there. Doesn't do anything except screw you and help our friends. Didn't Pelosi's district get something like $200 million for a park? I like parks just like the rest of us, right? I think they're fabulous. Can we work on congestion and traffic, and maybe can Flint, Michigan get water they can drink? Can we actually get broadband internet? Can we do these things that Kamala Harris has been chosen to be the czar of? Can we stop treating illegal immigrants like Americans and Americans like illegal immigrants? Can we maybe remember the value of hard work, of getting up and doing the job? By the way, if you're in a fast food line and it's taking a while, And it's always going to take a while because the prices are going up, friends, and everything is going to be way more inconvenient. Get used to it. Remember, lower your expectations. When you pull up to that window, thank the person who's standing there because they're getting crapped on by every single person driving through who's ticked off that it's taken so long, because it's not fast food anymore. It's food. And some of it's not even food. Say thank you. Maybe give them a couple bucks. They're the ones actually showing up. They're the ones not cashing in. We have Congress to thank for creating a generation of people who'd rather sit on the couch. There's a reason why everywhere you go, signs say, help wanted. Employers are falling over themselves to find people who just want to work. And as we limp further, passing more and more money on things we can't afford, we're getting passed up faster and faster by the likes of China, which restricts their children to 2 hours of gaming a week. China, which has strict educational standards and expectations. China, which is testing high-powered missiles, as we're worried about if it's a he, she, they, them, or maybe they want to be called they today. It's this leadership we're fighting against. This pushback that matters. This time in American history. This moment to get up, to make your voice heard, to vote, and then to get involved. Coming up, the hysteria of the left-wing media over a simple phrase and why I just think it's so flippin' delicious. Coming up on the Wendy Bell Radio program. You hobbling away?
Yeah, I gotta go.
Okay. I'm getting fussy. Means the hair's got to go back, guys. I know. Brock calls it a rat's nest. Isn't that hurtful? Whatever, I've got curls. Deal with it. Well, I feel fussy today, and I should. You know? I was looking as my kids on Halloween. So the twins are 13, they're in the 8th grade. And I'm like, are you guys going to keep trick-or-treating? And they're like, yeah. And I think more or less they want to go out and hang out with their friends in the dark. It's kind of fun, whatever. So literally they're in the backyard, 5 of them, 6 of them maybe, with Brock and Joe throwing a football around. Everybody in the neighborhood's been trick-or-treating for 40 minutes. And then I guess they realized, oh yeah, it's Halloween. The extent to which they thought of their costumes, Bob and Chris ran upstairs, grabbed a jersey and put it on and went out pretending to be athletes, which I'm pretty sure every teenage boy in our neighborhood did, right? And I'm like, wow, you put as much time and thought and creativity into this as the left does into governing. It's amazing. Haphazard. Actually, unfortunately for the left, it's planned and corrupt. And I'm just talking about Brock. He didn't hear me.
What?
Twizzler time.
Were you talking smack?
Am I what?
Were you talking smack?
No. I was marveling at how Bob and Chris and their friends spent absolutely 0 time planning their Halloween costumes.
It's because they were playing football.
But it's like indicative of this, like, nobody wants to work. Like, sort of this lazy ho-hum. Not anybody. A lot of people are working.
get another key, by the way.
Another key? For what?
Jason.
Oh, the thing that we have?
Yeah.
I'll give him mine.
No, for the elevators and the...
Oh, I beg your pardon. I thought you meant the thing that Ryan made. Did you see what I put on the page? Isn't that cool?
Yeah. I didn't get one, but...
Ah! You must have been a really annoying kid. I bet you were so freaking annoying.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Wow, the woman walks down the hall so loud. Holy moly. The ground shakes too. I'm like, oh.
Probably says the same thing about you.
Mm-hmm.
That lady in there talks so much and so loud.
True. Come on. Or as you would say, come on. I'm trying to beat the Yinzer out of him, but it's not working. I was hoping that maybe a ball would hit him in the backyard and he'd get concussed and something would like rattle him and be like all of a sudden he'd speak really well. Didn't
Maybe I
happen.
should go to Dr. Simkovich, see if he can...
Yeah. Can you do something on the soft palate that changes that Yinzer?
Bill on the stream's looking to get banned.
Why?
He says I gotta say I'm not a Twizzler fan.
Why?
Nancy, I don't know who your kids were. Said Brock was a very cute kid. He played baseball with my boys.
Cute?
I don't doubt it.
Brock?
Yeah.
Come on, Nance. You can do better than that.
Wow.
Just saying. So how about Michael calls me from Clemson yesterday. He goes, what do you do about a bad cat bite? I'm like, go to the emergency room because they're bacteria-laden teeth. So he got chomped on the foot, like puncture marks.
By a cat.
Mm-hmm.
His cat?
No. I'm not much of a cat person, sorry. Chomped. Have you ever been bitten by a cat?
Yeah. I'm bitten by a cat, a snake, a dog.
I've got my own Dr. Brock Yukon vet here. I love those shows.
Well, I mean...
Love them.
Your dog kills an animal, and I've got to try to save that said animal.
Dr. Pole. Love him. What? It's brainless, apolitical love of animals.
Okay, Bill's back in.
Okay.
He said, don't ban me, and I'll send you some cigars. See, Bill's back in. I think Wendy should...
I love how you're wheeling and dealing on your behalf.
I think Wendy should...
Can you guys give him a certificate for a barber?
I think a good Christmas gift would be, and I think you guys should email wendybellradio@gmail, telling her to get me a box of, Padron 50th anniversaries.
I already bought you one.
What's one box?
It was $40.
You could probably swing a deal, though.
Really? In Gettysburg?
No.
That's where I was.
Well, that's where you were, but if you were to
Smokingest place I've ever been. I was like,
to purchase them now.
Are all the cigar shops smoking free? Like everybody smokes in them?
You mean like a bar where, you mean everybody in the bar drinks? What?
I hate you. I think we should just say that.
Wow.
You're very annoying.
Well, I don't know. Coming from management, that could be HR material.
What else?
Using facts to take on the woke politicians, triggered leftists, and the corporate media.
You just got to try harder not to suck.
Live across the fruited plain and from sea to shining sea, you're listening to the Wendy Bell radio program.
Welcome back to the Wendy Bell Radio program. Happy Tuesday to all of you. So glad you are along for the ride. If you're listening in our news stations, 4 of them in Missouri. It's so great to be in the Show Me State. Hello to all of you. You know, I have to say it is enjoyable and kind of I don't know if it's perverse or if it's sick or what. I'm just going to say it's wholesome. It's wholesome. The enjoyment I get watching the media and the left lose their collective shizzle over Let's Go Brandon. I love that the White House tried to lie about not being aware. What's Let's Go Brandon? I don't know what that is, really. Because Biden, as he's been booed across the fruited plain, speaking out and doing whatever he does with Let's Go Brandon everywhere, he says, I don't think that's really very respectful. I'm the most voted for president ever. I wonder, does he know? Does he know? Or does he think he actually is? Do you think about that ever? Does he know? Is he the biggest walking charade? Or does he really think they love me? They voted for me. He Sally Fielded, they like me. Oh, no, they really don't, which is why nobody shows up for you. But the Let's Go Brandon, oh, it's so enjoyable. So I'm going to give you, because you have to have entertainment if you're going to get facts and data and fabulosity from me. So MSNBC, I don't even care who the players are, okay? I've never seen them before. I don't watch them. They are just triggered leftists who are trying to tell you a story about how gauche, how dangerous, how un-American. People are taking this Let's Go Brandon thing way too far. Cut number 1.
We have some new NBC News exclusive reporting on a dangerous way gun dealers are marketing their weapons, including violent threats against President Biden. One South Carolina gun dealer going as far as changing the inscription on the safety lever of its AR-15 rifle. Meanwhile, 2 other gun manufacturers are advertising AR-15 magazines with "Let's Go Brandon" stickers. That's a code phrase for a swearing insult at the president. NBC's Ken Delanian is breaking this story.
Yes, he is, Ken Delaney, and we're going to check in with you momentarily. It's a swear word against the president.
It's not a word, it's a code.
It's a code.
Yeah, code.
It's a far-right insurrectionist code. Because, come on, let's get back to the basics. There are 3 things that the left has to go on. Hatred of Donald Trump is number 1. They've beaten that horse to death, though. They're still trying, but it's decomposed and they're trying to move on to something else. Racism is number 2. When all else fails, just be like, oh yeah, well, you're a racist, and walk away. That's how they play. And then they take your ball and leave, right? Number 3 is January 6th, okay? So that's the setup to the story, which you know is going to be really, really factual and not at all biased. So let's get out to Ken Delanian. Cut 2.
NBC's Ken Delanian is breaking this story. So, Ken, folks may have a lot of questions, especially trying to understand what this Brandon thing is. Take us through your reporting.
Please tell me, Ken, at some point, when you want me to cover what story?
I just have to have that. Can I hear that one again? Because I'm trying really hard to make it sound like this is big news. Ken, what's going on?
NBC's Ken Delanian is breaking this story. So, Ken, folks may have a lot of questions, especially trying to understand what this Brandon thing is. Take us through your reporting.
Take us through your reporting. I'm sure this is going to be fantastic, scintillating, objective, earth-breaking stuff. Let's go. I love that they have to tell their viewers, because they haven't been covering Let's Go Brandon. Even though, I don't know, it's everywhere. I have a shirt that says it, for God's sakes. Available now in the App Store.
Nice shameless plug.
Go to the Wendy Bell Radio Network, and you too can own a Let's Go Brandon. Everybody's got them. I mean, this isn't breaking news, you complete boob. You guys just don't want to cover that more and more people, and it ain't just Republicans, are enjoying the Let's Go Brandon bandwagon. It's all across the stadiums, across America. It's at concerts. It's on airlines. It's on signs. It's everywhere. So let's listen to Ken Delanian's in-depth reporting.
This is really the latest example of how volatile American politics has become, Joe. A South Carolina gun dealer called Palmetto State Armory is selling what is known as a lower receiver, which is essentially the guts of an AR-15 assault rifle branded Let's Go 15. And as you said, on the weapon's fire selector, the expletive we can't say on television is next to the safety mode, the word Joe is next to the single shot mode, and the word Biden is next to the automatic firing mode. Now, after I got a tip about this, I came across two other companies marketing AR-15 ammunition magazines with Let's Go Brandon stickers on them. None of the companies have responded to our request for comments. I reached out to the Secret Service to see whether they consider this a threat against the president, but a spokesman declined to comment.
You reached out to the United States Secret Service to ask them if this was a threat? You pansy? What? Are you kidding? Do you know anything about the First Amendment, Ken Delanian? Look, this is America. Remember, this is the country where at the Golden Globes or whatever ridiculous show that our good buddy Robert De Niro, stood up and said his opening line, F Trump. That's okay. Yay! Yay!
He got a standing ovation for that. He said it twice.
What a guy. This is where you can pretend to hold the decapitated head of Donald Trump up with blood dripping down your arm. Yay! But somebody who wants to put Let's Go Brandon, which euphemistically, cleanly, classily, oh yes, it's classy to not use the F word, my friends, believe it or not. Let's Go Brandon. Why does it trigger them so much? Did you guys notice that in 2016, 2017, when Donald Trump took office, how loudly and overtly the left would talk out loud against this president? I can't believe it. I would never do that. People don't need to know what I think. I don't presume you share my views. It's not the courteous thing to do. Everywhere, the left completely triggered. They couldn't possibly believe that anybody out there didn't believe what they believed, which is unbelievable. I just said that. They're triggered by the Let's Go Brandon because people of all walks of life are pushing back. And it's a thing. It's everywhere. I want to get one of those ARs. I have one. I need to get another one. Don't you guys want to go get one?
Don't they realize all they're doing
helping them market.
Is helping them market?
Helping them market. Really. I think it's extraordinary. I think the manufacturer who creates the niche market for something like this, which, oh, by the way, I'm going to go with 98% of people who own guns are probably Republicans, are all aboard for this. But wait, it's not done. You can't connect the dots about this absolutely outrageous movement, can you believe it? Until you go back in time several months and try to do this.
The phrase "Let's Go Brandon" has become a right-wing code for expletive Joe Biden. It originated during a NASCAR race last month in Alabama when a driver named Brandon Brown was being interviewed by an NBC Sports reporter. A nearby crowd was chanting something that was difficult to make out, and the reporter suggested that they were chanting "Let's Go Brandon" to cheer the winning driver, but it became increasingly clear they were saying something else, blank Joe Biden. Now, several prominent Republicans have embraced this phrase recently, including members of the House and Senate. And really, Joe, the fact that a code phrase for profaning the U.S. president is now being used to market guns and ammunition suggests that the rage that was on display on January 6th has not subsided.
And there you go.
He circled all the way back to January 6th.
Jen the Suckhead. I sure hope she's doing better with her COVID. I'm sure she's getting ivermectin. You know, that horse dewormer. Yes. So this is the outrage. This is right-wing code. No, it's not. No, it's not. Disdain for this demented president, sad to say, it's accurate, is not just a right-wing thing. Look at the polls. I love this. You know, I'm not a big poll person, but I think this is delicious. I love that, let's see, 44%. No, wait a minute. Yes, a new NPR PBS NewsHour Marist poll shows 44% of Democrats and Democrat-leaning independents want a different presidential candidate in 2024 other than Joe Biden. 44%. That's 1,209 individuals surveyed. The poll came out yesterday. How about this? 44% of respondents approve of the job he's doing. I'd like to meet them. 49% say he stinks. 36% of Democrats and Democrat-leaning independents say the party has the best chance of winning with Biden at the top of the ticket. That's just more than 1 in 3. 50% of Republicans and GOP-leaning independents say Trump at the top of the ticket has the best chance of recapturing the White House.
And Ms. Harris's poll numbers are much better.
She's the least
Yeah.
voted for or liked vice president, I think, possibly now in history. And didn't we have?
And that goes against.
And didn't we have
Al
Spiro
Gore
Agnew?
Al Gore
right?
and
Right, they didn't do polls back then, but everybody
what's the
hated
guy
that
that
guy.
shot Bush's
Cheney.
Cheney.
Yeah. You like
This
you,
guy's she's outperforming them.
Yeah. That's a big claim to fame. She must be so proud. Yay! I want to thank Bruce Freshwater and his team from Sierra Experts. You know, you need an expert on your side when it's about your website, what it looks like, how it functions, how your clients or potential customers will interact with it. Its responsiveness. Does it crash all the time? If there is a problem, is your service provider actually on the ball fixing it? Those experts are Sierra Experts. Bruce is a veteran. He's created a core of brilliant men and women who know all about digital marketing, custom-made software development, network monitoring, backup and disaster recovery, and web design. They are the experts. Get them on your team. You think you can't afford somebody like this? Give them a go. He's awesome. I love Bruce. Go to sierraexperts.com, sierraexperts.com, or call 412-379-8333. Tell them the Wendy Bell Radio Show sent you. They're fantastic. All right, when we come back, that was just so enjoyable. My cheeks kind of hurt a little bit. I don't even know where I'm going to go, but it's going to be fabulous. Coming up next on the Wendy Bell Radio program. I love that they're a full month or two late to the Let's Go Brandon thing. Like literally.
It's not that they're late.
They selectively chose not to cover it.
I guarantee they thought it would go away.
Mm-hmm.
So they did what, doctors tell you not to do. Pretend something isn't wrong. So they pretended, and guess what? For lack of better words, it metastasized.
Mm-hmm.
And it went from one race to a couple people selling that, to then more people selling T-shirts, to stadiums.
Right. I need to check and see if you go on
chanting.
Let's go on just plain old the Google box. I should do DuckDuckGo, but let's search.
So what are we doing next?
I don't know.
I say, I mean, we only have a couple minutes to the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
We could stick with media outrage.
Yeah. Let's see.
I mean, pretty much everything we have from now on is media outrage.
Mm-hmm. They're so enjoyable.
Sometimes I'm embarrassed by them. No, I'm embarrassed by the media quite a bit.
Doesn't show me how many.
Everyone's always like, "Well, you work in the media." I'm like, no, I work in talk radio.
Can you search shopping under Let's Go Brandon? Because my iPad is vomiting on me.
Shopping?
Yeah, I think so.
You mean just like?
I want to see how many different sites are selling stuff.
If you type in "Let's" in Google, the first thing that comes up is "Let's Go Brandon." Let's Go Brandon T-shirt. You want T-shirts?
I just want to
hats?
know like what the search results, how many results are. There'll be millions.
20 million.
Shut the front door.
So Let's Go Brandon shirts, about 20 million results. I don't see ours anywhere. Well, anyways, you know to go to.
That is hilarious. 20 million. See, when we made that, I searched, it was something like 60,000.
Yeah, well.
Wow.
Joe Biden.
We were cutting edge.
By being an idiot, Joe Biden's trying to spark the economy.
Hey, somebody's got to do it.
It's about the only way he's helping the economy.
Yeah, I mean, gee whiz. It's outstanding. I love it. So Brock and I just searched in the commercial break. Wanted to see how many, it's interesting. MSNBC is like, this just in. There's this right-wing weird thing going on. It's code for F. Joe Biden. Let's go, Brandon. Oh, I can't believe it. Meanwhile, it's been like 10 weeks. So we searched for how many. When we created our Let's Go Brandon shirt, to the ire of our competitors, I think there were only 60,000 things that came up at that point. Now it's, what would you say it is?
It is now 20 million.
Wow. Yeah, and those are all right-wingers, guys. No, they're not. It's a thing. It's a wave. It's beautiful. So I want to share this story with you. I've got some more deranged, hysterical sound. Fantastic stuff going on. Well, you know what? Let's do Tucker Carlson. We need to pull up Tucker Carlson. Okay, so we know that January 6th is like the worst day. It was worse than the Civil War, said some lackey in Congress. I forget who it was, probably Joe Biden. Anyway, Tucker Carlson is putting out a January 6th special, like a what really happened. Remember, there are, 14,000 hours of video from cell phone cameras that were never presented to the people to see. So I guarantee you he's got some great information to provide for us. I guess it's coming out imminently. Nobody really knows the parameters of it. We just know that it's percolating. Just knowing that, if you thought Let's Go Brandon triggered the left, Tucker Carlson working on an anti-January 6th narrative that might be based in facts. Oh, listen to the meltdown.
Tucker Carlson has created a terrorist recruitment video.
Fox TV branching into fantasy programming. A new series from Tucker Carlson traffics in conspiracy theories surrounding the insurrection on January 6th.
Tucker Carlson attempting to rewrite history around the January 6th insurrection.
Tucker Carlson makes a tribute video to the terrorists.
Tucker Carlson is hitting a new low, completely rewriting the history of the Capitol insurrection in a way that defies belief.
Tuckums previewed a documentary that goes beyond the usual Daughters of the Confederacy rewrite of the January 6th insurrection to shameless lying and conspiracy mongering.
Tucker Carlson is leaning way in to disinformation regarding January 6th. And it's kind of terrifying because what he's putting out there is just going to lead to more violence.
It might be Tucker Carlson's most dangerous moment yet. Fox News' right-wing host is taking his assault on democracy to terrifying new heights in a brand new series promising to tell the truth, he says, about January 6th. It actually appears to be nothing but a war on the truth.
It's filled with lies about what led to the riot and the prosecution of the rioters, and even includes a blatantly false assertion that the Capitol riot was a, quote, false flag operation.
False flag. Anytime you don't like what your people did, you claim there was a false flag.
Tucker is peddling some deeply dangerous propaganda that the insurrection was actually a false flag operation.
What Carlson is doing is unforgivable and really just horrible. I want to say criminal, but technically that's not true, although maybe it should be.
Tucker Carlson is inciting violence.
Isn't this just an incitement to another January 6th? Is that what Tucker Carlson wants?
What Tucker Carlson is doing is going against the American people.
The Murdoch family, which controls Fox, is cashing in as American democracy is being set ablaze.
Why does Rupert Murdoch want to destroy America?
The Murdochs and Tucker Carlson, their primetime pyromaniac, appear to be hell-bent on dragging this country into a civil war. Jefferson Davis would be proud.
You know, I have a shirt that says "triggered" on it, and I should send one to all of these morons. I was wondering why all of those news outlets that we chronicled yesterday in that video, all of the local news outlets across the country, there were dozens of them talking about the same thing, the same words about disinformation, about the threat to our democracy. Now this, the network people losing their minds over the mere idea that Tucker Carlson would come up with something that counters their narrative. It's planned. Their responses that we're seeing in the media, they are scared to death.
Do you think any of them watched it yet?
I doubt it. It's not out. What did they call it? A terrorist recruitment video, rewriting history, a tribute to terrorists. Kind of terrifying, most dangerous moment yet. Terrifying new heights, filled with lies. False flag, deeply dangerous propaganda, unforgivable, inciting violence, democracy set ablaze. Right? Please. Do you even know what you're talking about, or are you worried that what he's going to present is going to blow up what you've been covering up and pushing? Huh? Ooh, the truth always prevails, my friends. And we're just getting started. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to the Wendy Bell Radio program.
You taking me to lunch?
Nope, I've got parent-teacher conferences. And
Oh, no. Who got in trouble?
Huh?
Who got in trouble?
No, this is just every 8th grader has a parent. I mean, election day, since our polling place is my kids' school, they always have this day off, and then the teachers have the opportunity to do Zooms with the parents.
Oh, at least you only have to do Zooms. You don't have to go.
I would much rather go.
Oh.
I love watching my kids squirm as they sit there uncomfortably hearing about themselves. Kind of fun. There's a really militant guy, a dad, who is an aide at the school. And he's just the ultimate joy killer. Like, if you're running around, stop doing that. If you're doing
he's
this,
Dr. Fauci.
He's just absolutely despised. And it's fun. They all galvanize around how much they dislike this gentleman. And I think it's hilarious, but it's unfortunate because he gives them conduct points. If they're goofing off or horsing around, and I'm like, they're sitting inside wearing masks, you complete jackwagon. They want to get outside before it's snowing and raining, and get some zhuzh out. Like, knock it off.
What is it with people always having to tell you how to do
What
and
to
how
do?
to act?
He's obviously a leftist, and I can say that because I believe that.
And
he's
he's
an
not
absolute
listening.
spirit killer.
Yeah.
They
He's the
laugh
Dr.
at him.
Fauci of the school.
Yeah.
No, you cannot have Thanksgiving.
Right.
You're right.
I'm right?
I wasn't invited to the parent-teacher meeting.
Are you guys honestly feeding the frenzy? Really? Please. Please.
Just saying. Terry was right. I wasn't invited.
Sad. I love watching the closed captioning.
I don't have it up.
I'm going to say shizzle and see if it happens. Let's see.
You just said shizzle.
Oh, it said shizzle.
Some of us have to work after work.
You have to work after work?
Mm-hmm.
Why? What are you working for?
I have to have phone calls.
Oh, poor baby. Are you going to make it?
And I have to vote.
Have to or get to?
Get to.
Darn right. There's a difference. You know what?
I mean, the nice thing is I don't have to. Where I vote, they choose not to vote. And it's
not a great turnout in your neighborhood?
I think I went.
I have an elderly neighborhood, so they're all.
I went at like 2:00 last time there was voting last year, a presidential election year, and I think I was number 85 or something like that. Yeah, I mean, I walked in, or no, I'm sorry, it wasn't the presidential election. It was the when we had the referendum. So primer, I walked in. I wasn't even 85. I walked in. That's when they said that she's looking up my name and she's like, "Are you a Democrat or a Republican?" And the first thing that ran through my mind was like, "You don't have to ask me who I am, but you're asking me who I vote for." I'm like,
I'm a libertarian.
I looked at her. I says, "I'm an independent." She goes, "Get him a special form." He's an independent. I'm like,
and a napkin for the drool coming out of his mouth.
Yeah, sure, I understand.
No, meaning like they label you as being something that you're not.
Yeah.
Like he's obviously not with it.
I think I'm gonna hand them my ID today just to be
like, you know what? It's not that hard. I can do it.
Look, this is what you should be doing.
It's so insulting.
We have to decide what you're doing too on Thanksgiving.
I'm not going to work.
Okay.
I will work the next day.
We need to tell people that.
Okay. Probably Matt first.
Bob. But
Bob,
yes.
Bob Taylor?
Yes.
Okay.
And then if they run a best of or fill it in, or if we need to fill it in, we need to find out.
Joe's on call. I almost should work, but it would be nice to not. All the boys will be home. Mike and Jack will be home from college.
Just stay home. Not like they'll be up, but stay home. I'll go to work.
I need a sign that says "Get off the cross." Well, I can say to you, and I hope it feels this way if you've been tuning into the Wendy Bell radio program with any kind of regularity. These days fly by. You guys, thank you so very much for spending this time with us. We appreciate you more than you could possibly know. Many months ago, was trying to put into words this feeling I get with really passionate, diehard leftists. Now, there's a difference between being a Republican and being conservative, I think. I think there's a difference between being liberal or being a Democrat, rather, and being a leftist, I think. There's this overarching aura of superiority when you talk to a leftist. They always know better. You don't possibly question them. If you've ever watched Jen Psaki in one of her press conferences, it is what she just drips. She oozes this. I don't know why I'm wasting my time calling on you, but go ahead. It's really a very palpable, obvious, unbecoming characteristic. I call it the sanctimonious do-goodery of idiocy. The sanctimony is I'm on high. I shouldn't be doubted. Don't trifle with me. I have all the answers, and if I don't, I will pretend and lie to you anyway and make you think that I do. I know everything. I know how you should feel. I know how you should vote. I know the decisions that you should be making. In fact, I'm going to call you out when you don't make the right ones. Oh, yes. Then there's the do-goodery. The do-goodery aspect of the trifecta of the leftists is all about, it's the right thing to do. It's humane. Of course, we need to let millions of people traipse in across our border without knowing who they are. It's so humane. Do you know where they come from, what they've lived through? It's our obligation. Do-goodery. I'm such a good person. That's the overarching residue of the sanctimony. I am really awesome. If only everybody else was as awesome as I was, we wouldn't have this problem. And of course, the final piece of the trifecta puzzle is idiocy, because all of it blows up in their face, because everybody's onto them, and we just look at them and think they're stupid and condescending and dangerous, much like this young lady you're about to hear right now. Now, I don't often like to share my time with the sanctimonious do-goodery of idiocy. But I think it's appropriate every now and again for you to get tapped into what other people are saying, how they view those of you who view life completely differently, who enjoyed freedom and patriotic emotions and the flag and the Star-Spangled Banner and the pledge and working hard and treating your neighbor fairly and safe borders. You know all that stuff under Donald Trump. Well, her name is Tiffany Cross. She is a triggered MSNBC leftist. And if we thought Joy Reid was noxious, this woman has her beaten tenfold. And I think Brock has broken this up into 3 more manageable clips. You will completely see in your mind's eye, if you're listening on the radio and not watching on the live stream, you will see the definition of sanctimony emerge now.
Okay, have you guys heard about that new megachurch? You know, the one that's attracted over 75 million people in just over 5 years? No? Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Not megachurch. MAGA church. Yes, during Donald Trump's presidency, the number of white Americans who started identifying as evangelicals grew significantly. In fact, white evangelicals fell deeper into their worship in 2020 than in 2016. So forgive me if I lack surprise here. Any modest student of history knows the monstrosities that have been committed under the white guise of evangelicalism. So this is really straight out of their playbook.
What monstrosities have the evangelicals? And again, do you see the playbook? It's very limited. It's Donald Trump. It's racism. It's January 6th. I'm sure we'll hit on all 3 here in just a matter of moments. Do you hear the sanctimony? She's playing that racism thing. If you're white and you're an evangelical, which I'm just going to say is code for you believe in God, and you voted for Donald Trump, you're now demonized. Congratulations and welcome to the club. Clip number 2. You know, it's hard to make sense of so much nonsense in hypocrisy, but we'll try to walk through it together. Here's Tiffany Cross, MSNBC, sanctimoniously degrading all of you. Watch her finger wag. Watch her body language. Oh, yeah. Here we go.
But here's the thing that's most striking. These evangelicals are not being called to the Trump tabernacle by the traditional teachings of Christians. Oh, no. That would be quite the paradox. What has called these MAGA zealots to worship? It's that evangelicalism has been bound to the Republican Party. No room for Jesus here. After all, wasn't he a brown-skinned immigrant whose mother was seeking shelter? Right. Millions of Americans are being drawn to the evangelical label, likely because of its association with the GOP. And the data bears it out. Most evangelicals identify as Republican. But wait, here's the kicker. According to research cited by political scientist Ryan Burge of Eastern Illinois University, nearly a third of these evangelicals seldom or never even go to church. They're merely sheep following the fox, dying to be baptized in bunk so they can all sip from the same trough and gulp down the conservative communion of nonsense and hypocrisy.
What happened to her? Like, if I don't like people or what they say, I really don't pay a whole lot of attention. I think it's important to draw your attention to this. But listen to her disdain. They hate you. They hate you. They hate your kids. They hate your church. They hate how you vote. They hate the color of your skin. Listen to her with all of her suppositions, all of her surmising, all of her generalities. Isn't she absolutely the anti what Martin Luther King Jr. told us to be like with each other? Character, not color. Who are you? What do you do? Not what do you look like? And what do people think you are? This is the judgy, sanctimonious, syruply, gross left. All against white, evangelical Trump supporters. But she's not quite done. Here we go. This is just the icing on her fury. Go.
They have actually turned a demon into a deity and put the pea grabber in the pulpit, which again makes sense to so many of us. And I hate to ruin the ending for so many of you, but here's a spoiler. The former twice impeached president, 2 Corinthians there, doesn't actually lead you to the promised land. He is not the chosen one, and none of you are apostles. Just a sad group of disgruntled people who got swindled by snake oil. So, everyone, please break out your Bibles and join me in a reading this morning. Turn with me, if you will, to the book of We're So Tired of Y'all, chapter 45, verse 2 chains. Mercy, mercy, mercy. Your crew is so thirsty. It's the GOP, not the GOD. Please, for everyone's sake, learn the difference. And now that the doors of the church are open, go get vaccinated and then get some sense. And no need for money in the collection plate. Both are free. And doing neither is costly for us all. So please govern yourselves accordingly and let the church say amen.
I don't even know how MSNBC allowed that to happen. That according to network television, cable television, is what they think of you on the left. Not only is it despicable, not only is it racist, not only is she condescending, she's clueless. You don't have the foggiest idea how the majority of us who love America feel. It is not about a man. It is about a mission. A mission he shared. A mission we continue to carry along with us every single day. People who are triggered don't have any interest in conversation. They know only what they know. They're not interested in learning. They're not interested in debate, because that's where they'll just drop the race card. They're interested in demonizing you because for some reason, in some perverse way, it must make them feel better about whatever's lacking in their lives. I have not felt that way about another human being ever. And I've had a lot of encounters with people over time. That is your left. That is, in real time, the definition of sanctimonious do-goodery, get the vaccine, of idiocy. She has no clue. I find it curious that our network news operations, the media in general out there, are scratching their heads. What's happening? It was so good when Trump was in office. We need him back. So we're relevant again. Now people have tuned out. Who wants to listen to that? What person, and I dare say white or black, would associate with that? If that was a white woman talking down to black churchgoers, I wouldn't be down with that just because I'm white. It's a shame, which is why sometimes arguing with a leftist is the stupidest thing to ever do. Most times, you're never going to move the needle. More Gains Fitness is a proud supporter of the Wendy Bell radio program, and they invite you to visit their 4 locations in Cambria and Somerset counties so you can finally take control of your health. You worry about everybody else in your family. When was the last time you worked on you? The friendly, trained staff at More Gains Fitness believes exercise is the best medicine and that everybody can become the best version of themselves through fitness. Veteran-owned company run by a husband and wife team for a decade now. And I have the experience, the passion, and a deep commitment to making our communities healthier. More Gains Fitness has all the equipment and know-how you need to get the results you want. Get in touch with them today by going online to moregainsfitness.com. More Gains spelled MORGAINZ.com. I got something to read to you after we come out of this short break. Interesting opinion piece by Newsweek magazine. I think some people have had some smelling salts. They're sort of seeing the light. Reality is shining through, shockingly. I'll give you proof of that coming on the flip side of the Wendy Bell radio program.
Yes, ma'am. That I saw that clip last night.
Wow, I'm so glad you flagged it. It makes me sad for her.
I feel really bad for her.
I really feel bad for her.
Her career is going to go nowhere from there.
That's not why I feel badly for her.
I know. I mean, I feel badly for her because she's being played, and that she thinks that's her avenue.
Is this a product of your college? Is this your home? Like, you know, if anybody should be screaming the joys of freedom of opportunity in the United States, it's someone in a high-dollar job on national television. You know, rather than bemoaning something that clearly doesn't affect you, why not celebrate? Take your bread and soak up the gravy.
Well,
smile. It's good for your teeth.
You know why she gets away with it?
Well,
because that's their base. They know no Republicans are. See, for you to get turned into the FCC, someone actually has to file a complaint, right? Conservatives don't do that. They don't waste their time with it. But if I was an advertiser, I would be like, get me off of that show. That's just, I mean, there's no other way of saying she does hate us.
Oh yeah.
She hates you. And she wants nothing to do with you.
You know, I don't really hate people I don't know. Right. I have a neighbor, a major leftist neighbor, who has all these signs in his yard for all the political candidates. Always has. You know, I don't know him. I can't say that I don't like him. I don't agree with him, but okay. Yeah. There's a difference. John D'Onofrio, one of the most important people you could have in your life when you're planning your future and getting the peace of mind you need. He's an estate lawyer. He helps people like you and me set up trusts, roadmaps for the future. Where does your wealth go after you pass away? Don't you want somebody who's honest, who's got 40 years of experience in this kind of law to draw that roadmap for you? He's my friend. He's my lawyer. I trust him. John D'Onofrio. Call him today. 412-928-2068. So interesting article from Newsweek that I think is worthy of review, because I don't normally think of most magazines as being even remotely fair, let alone objective or critical of mainstream issues or personalities. So this grabbed our attention, how Fauci fooled America. And it's an opinion piece by the folks at Newsweek. And I want to read it to you because I think it's so frustrating that it takes Newsweek this long to see the light that we shine on the facts every single day. Where have you been, Newsweek? And it goes like this. When the pandemic hit, America needed someone to turn for advice. The media and public naturally looked to Dr. Anthony Fauci, the director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, an esteemed laboratory immunologist and one of President Donald Trump's chosen COVID advisors. Unfortunately, Dr. Fauci got major epidemiology and public health questions wrong. Reality and scientific studies have now caught up with him. Good for Newsweek. Here are the key issues. Natural immunity. By pushing vaccine mandates, Dr. Fauci ignores naturally acquired immunity among the COVID recovered, of which there are millions in the United States. Mounting evidence indicates that natural immunity is stronger and longer lasting than vaccine-induced immunity. In fact, in a study from Israel, the vaccinated were 27 more times to get symptomatic COVID than the unvaccinated who had recovered from a prior infection. Isn't that what Alan Dershowitz took me to task over? Oh, that's right. We've known about natural immunity from disease at least since the Athenian plague in 430 BC. Pilots, truckers, longshoremen know about it, and nurses know it better than anyone. Under Fauci's mandates, hospitals are firing heroic nurses who recovered from COVID they contracted while caring for patients. With their superior immunity, they can safely care for the oldest and frailest patients with even lower transmission risk than the vaccinated. Protecting the elderly. While anyone can get infected, there's more than 1,000-fold difference in mortality risk between the old and the young. After more than 700,000 reported COVID deaths in America, we now know that lockdowns failed to protect high-risk older people. When confronted with the idea of focused protection on the vulnerable, Dr. Fauci admitted he had no idea how to accomplish it, arguing that it would be impossible. That may be understandable for a lab scientist, but public health scientists have presented many concrete suggestions that would have helped had Fauci and other officials not ignored them. School closures, bing, bing, bing. Schools are major transmission points for influenza, but not for COVID. When children do get infected, their risk for COVID death is minuscule, lower than their already low risk of dying from the flu. Throughout the 2020 spring wave, Sweden kept daycare and schools open for all its 1.8 million children ages 1 to 15, with no masks, testing, or social distancing. The result? 0 COVID deaths among children, and a COVID risk to teachers lower than the average of other professions. In fall of 2020, most European countries followed suit with similar results. Considering the devastating effects of school closures on children, Dr. Fauci's advocacy for school closures may be the single biggest mistake of his career. Masks. The gold standard of medical research is randomized trials, and there have now been 2 on COVID masks for adults. For children, there is no solid scientific evidence that masks work. A Danish study found no statistically significant difference between masking and not masking when it came to coronavirus infection. In a study in Bangladesh, the 95% confidence interval showed that masks reduce transmission between 0% and 18%. Hence, masks are either of zero or limited benefit. There are many more critical pandemic measures that Dr. Fauci could have emphasized, such as better ventilation in schools and hiring nursing home staff with natural immunity. Collateral public health damage is the last part. A fundamental public health principle, is that health is multidimensional. The control of a single infectious disease is not synonymous with health. As an immunologist, Dr. Fauci failed to properly consider and weigh the disastrous effects lockdowns would have on cancer detection and treatment, cardiovascular disease outcomes, diabetes care, childhood vaccination rates, mental health, and opioid overdoses, to name a few. Americans will live with and die from this collateral damage for many years to come. In private conversations, most of our scientific colleagues agree with us on this point. While a few have spoken up, why are not more doing so? Well, some tried and failed. Others kept silent when they saw colleagues slandered and smeared in the media or censored by big tech. The evidence is in. Governors, journalists, scientists, university presidents, hospital administrators, and business leaders can continue to follow Dr. Anthony Fauci or open their eyes. After 700,000 plus COVID deaths and the devastating effects of lockdowns, it's time to return to basic principles of public health. Written by Martin Kulldorff, a PhD epidemiologist, biostatistician, and professor of medicine at Harvard Medical School, among others. We know this. This is why this poll shows that nearly half of Americans think Tony Fauci lied about U.S. funding of gain-of-function research. You made poor decisions from the beginning. You never admitted that you didn't know the answers. You ruled with a wand of absolutism, and you ruined many people's lives, not to mention those who died unnecessarily. Tony Fauci needs to go, which is why it does delight me to some degree, though bittersweetly, that the hashtag #FireFauci trends. Not to mention what he's done, despicable money given to certain research groups to terrorize animals. It's time to get our collective crap together, to choose people who we believe in, and sadly, none of them seem to be in office or in power right now. Let's go. Let's go, Brandon. Let's go. Glenn Youngkin. You're listening to the Wendy Bell radio program. Until tomorrow, peace.